What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Legacy Politics. It's been probably over a year since I've been on this show. Sent it out on my Instagram and Twitter and said, hey, should I make a comeback for the 2024 race? And the overwhelming answer was yes. So I'm back. I've been really busy. I've been working, been doing college and all that good stuff, and just kind of took a break from this channel. I actually run another podcast as well. That's sort of for my job, so I've been working on that. I'm now the host for that. You can check it out. It's the 4th Street Sports Show. If you're Hattiesburg, Mississippi, or Southern Miss fan in general, might want to check it out. But that's not where we're here today. We're here today to talk about the 2024 race for office. I want to fill out a map to kind of welcome me back, and then we'll get into more specific stuff later. Later in the few next coming weeks. I'll try to get a video out at least once a week. That's kind of my goal leading up to next year's 2024 election, and that might increase as we get closer and with more things coming up. Obviously, a lot has happened since I've been on here, so I'm hoping that the people watching this have kept up with the news. So I'm not going to sit here and just talk about everything that's happened over the past year and a half or whatever it's been. I want to get into what I think is going to happen in the 2024 election. As you can see here, we have our YAPMS 2024 map. So obviously President Joe Biden will be running for the Democrats unless something happens. I'm assuming that Donald Trump will be the clear Republican favorite, as if you look in the polls right here, nobody really challenging right now in the RCP average for the Republican nomination. Trump just destroying everybody. I think the closest it got was about 27 points, or about 17 points there, about 13 points there, and 15 points there. So it's never really closed within 10 points between him and DeSantis. And this was back in January when Trump wasn't at his best back in January, kind of coming off of a pretty lousy effort in the 2022 midterms, not having the best with his candidates. And then ever since March 28th, which was actually the first indictment back in March, Trump's numbers just keep going up, and they keep rising each time he gets indicted again. He was indicted around June 10th, June 11th, and he boasted his largest lead. It kind of came back down, but the DeSantis campaign is just an absolute disaster. They keep trying to reboot it laughably, but not looking like anybody's really going to challenge Trump. It's going to be Trump versus Biden, so that's what we're going to do here. And we might do other candidates if it looks to be closer, and comment down below on what candidates you would like to see in the 2024 race. But let's go through this. So we'll fill out the safe states first for Joe Biden: Washington, Oregon, California, Illinois, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, District of Columbia. I'm going to put Hawaii in the safe as well. I also think Colorado will be safe for Joe Biden. I think, and just so you know, that the safe states is that of those states that Joe Biden will win by 10 or more points. So that's what I think, first of all, is what we're going to see from the Democrats. And you're also going to put Maine second. You're going to put, not Maine 2nd District there, but Maine at large, and then Maine District 1 for the Democrats, probably in the safe margin as well. I don't really see the Republicans cracking 10 there. For Donald Trump, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska at large, District 1, District 2, I keep messing that up. District 2 right there. Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, Missouri, Louisiana. And I think as we fill out these safe states for the Republicans, I actually do think Ohio is going to be won by Donald Trump by over 10 points. If we look at Ohio, as I switch back the map here, look at Ohio in 2020. You see the trends going right. You see the trends going left in bigger cities like Cincinnati and Columbus. But you see how big, 12 points in Pike County more than 2016, 8 points, 9 points. The trends in Ohio is making this more and more of a red state. Trump won it by by a likely margin by 8 points in 2020. I think that after what we saw in the governor election in Ohio, and in 2022, and what we saw just in the midterms, I don't think that Ohio is going to be challenged by the Democrats in this cycle. Could be challenged in more cycles to come, but I think that the Republicans should be safe there for sure. 10 points. And if not 10 points, I mean, definitely over 8. So, I mean, we're playing with 2 points here. So, Ohio's going to Donald Trump's column and the Republicans' column. So I think that's going to be all the likely states. So let's go, or rather the safe states. Let's go into likely states for the Republicans. I'm going to put Alaska in the likely states. I mean, I don't think that Alaska is going to be challenged by Joe Biden in 2024, but I do think that it's possible he could crack 10 points, right? Trump won it by 10 points exactly in 2020, and I think that the trends in Alaska have been going a lot more Democrats, and they just have weird elections there. I obviously I don't think the state's being like in risk of being lost for the Republicans. I mean, they're still going to win it by a healthy margin, but I do think that it could be within the 10-point margin because Alaska, Trump's popularity in Alaska hasn't been good. Republicans' popularity in general in Alaska hasn't been good, and so I could see that being in a likely state, a likely margin. So still going to the Republicans, just in a likely margin, 8 to 9 points. I think Florida is a likely margin. The Democrats in Florida have just been laughable. The Democrats in all the counties have been just a disaster. Trump, I think a lot of polls had Trump actually losing Florida. You see in Miami, 22 points for Republicans than 2016. The trends in Florida have just been incredible. Ron DeSantis just absolutely flattening in the governor race back in 2021, I believe it was. I always forget when that race was, but just absolutely flatlining the Republicans, the Democrats there in Florida. So Florida, Trump won it by around 4 or 5 points. So I could see that going 6 or 7 in 2024, especially if DeSantis endorses Trump, which by all means he likely will. I'd be very shocked if he doesn't. With that in mind, you'd think that Trump could do well there, considering it's his home state and everything. So Texas, I think, goes to Trump as well by a good likely margin. He won it by 6 in 2020. Even with some of the Democrats getting some ways in Dallas, and I think Houston's kind of going towards the Democrats as well. We saw that in 2022. I need to bring up the Senate races because that's what I was looking for. So Marco Rubio in 2020, you see, I mean, you look at this I'm just going to go back to Florida real quickly. Every county just unbelievably going to the right for Florida. So Florida's really good and safe for the Republicans. Marco Rubio won it by 17 points in 2022. So I think that Florida might even be a safe state, honestly. But when you look at Texas in the House, you saw a lot of just change in the certain districts that Republicans were supposed to win. I think Democrats flipped a couple seats there, and I was talking about Houston kind of going a little bit more to the Democrats. But all that being said, Texas is still trending more to the right, and I think they're tired of the border being a disaster down there. So I think that's going to go to Trump by 6 or 7, which is well within the likely margin for the Republicans. I think Iowa is also in this likely margin for the Republicans. I don't think that the Democrats, in 2020, all we heard was Iowa's in play, and then Trump went out and won it by 9 points. So, and you see the change from 2016. Nothing really big. You saw Dallas County kind of going towards the Democrats and there in Iowa, but nothing large numbers like you saw in the Senate race. But the Senate race was won by Chuck Grassley by 12 points. Obviously, a very likable candidate. But you see the trends, 21 more points than in 2020, right? 2017. And it's hard to judge midterms because Trump's not on the ballot, Biden's not on the ballot, and it's kind of hard to get people out. But you see all of these states moving towards the right. Ohio a lot moved towards the left. So we'll see what happens. It's just sometimes it's hard to judge off of that. But I do think Iowa's likely for Donald Trump in 2020. 2024. It's crazy word, 2024. All right, let's fill out the likely states for the Democrats. I think New Mexico is a likely state, obviously. I think it could be a safe state. I think it could go to Biden by 10 plus points. I think in 2020 it went to him by 10 plus points, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Yeah, it went to him by 11 points in 2020. So I don't think there's really any reason to think that would change. I think that Trump could do something just because he's on the ballot, maybe clinch that, make it under 10. But I think I'm putting in likely just because I think it could be likely, but very, very likely might be safe for the Democrats. So 10 plus points there in New Mexico. I think Minnesota is just a disaster right now for the Republican Party, not making any headway. I remember that I think I even predicted Donald Trump to possibly take Minnesota in 2020. Not even close, right? It wasn't even remotely close. I think it was called very, very quickly. 7-point win there for Joe Biden. And then there wasn't a Senate race in Minnesota back in the 2022 races. So we haven't really had a lot of data out of Minnesota, but we know that it's just not going well in Minnesota for the Republicans. Biden won it by 7. I think he wins it by 9 in 2024. So it's trending further to the left. Nebraska's second is also one that I could see going likely Democrat. The redistricting there have really helped Democrats. That was actually in play in the 2020 race, right? I think Biden actually surprised a lot of people by winning it by 7 points in 2020. I remember I was saying, well, Trump should win that. You'd think he would be able to win that state or win that district, but I think that, with the redistricting, Biden already winning it by 7 in 2020, I think that continues to go in the Democrats' favor, and that's a likely state, one important electoral vote for the Democrats. Also, I just realized I never filled out New York for Joe Biden, so that is definitely a safe state. So I think Virginia as well is going to be a likely state for the Democrats. Yes, the Republicans did win the state of Virginia with Glenn Youngkin winning the governorship back in 2021. But I don't know if that's really going to be much of a change from the 2020 race. In 2020. I know that a lot of people thought Virginia was potentially in play. I never thought that. Biden won it by 10. I think that could go down a little bit with Glenn Youngkin already saying he's going to back Trump if he is the candidate. So, the Virginians, the hillbillies up there really, really like Glenn Youngkin. So that could give some votes to Donald Trump, especially given Biden's unpopularity. But I don't think that's going to be enough to push it within a lean margin or even a tilt margin, obviously, because I just think that Virginia is just it's just too far to the left, and I don't think that you'd see a 10-point swing within 4 years. So I don't even think you'd see a 5-point swing within 4 years out there in Virginia. So that's going to go to the Democrats in a likely margin, and I think that's all the likely states. Donald Trump will also win carry the 2nd district of Maine in a likely margin. So that's all the likely states for the Democrats and for the Republicans. Now let's dive into the lean states. So this is about 3 to 5 points. 3 to 5 points. If the candidate wins it by 3 to 5 points, that's what I would argue is a lean margin. Let's start with the state of New Hampshire. I think that Joe Biden wins the state of New Hampshire by a lean margin. I don't know why, as I mess with Massachusetts here, I don't know why that the Donald Trump keeps coming up here. I think Biden won it by around a lean margin. Yeah, he actually won it by 7 in 2020. As you saw, the trends for the Democrats from 2016, it wasn't really that close in the Senate race. 10-point win for Maggie Hassan, but obviously Maggie, she's a very popular senator out there, and I don't think really anybody thought that was in play. I know a couple of right-wing election predictors thought it was in play back in 2020. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I think I said that Trump could win that state as well. So I was definitely wrong in that area, and I think Joe Biden wins that state pretty handily this time around. Just with the trends. Yes, Biden's unpopularity. That's why I think it's more within 3 to 4 points rather than 7. I think Trump could close a little bit of a gap there, but it's not going to be enough, obviously, to take the state. So that's going to go to the Democrats in a lean margin. I also think Michigan goes to the Democrats in the lean margin. I think that there's a long time left between now and the election, so I think that the Republicans could make grounds in Michigan. I think that it's not unlikely that Trump could take the state. He has to really gain in areas where he really lost, especially Ottawa County. Trump won it by 21 points in 2020, but he won it by 29 points in 2016. So that's where Trump he has to get back his base that he had in 2016 to take it, and he has to make at least some grounds in areas like Detroit and Grand Traverse County in Michigan. So you saw the flip. You saw from Joe Biden taking that state, and it was even a further flip in 2022, even further to the right. Almost an 11-point victory for Gretchen Whitmer there in Michigan over the Republican candidate. So I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the Republicans to take back Michigan. I think it's still within a lean margin. I mean, it wasn't like Donald Trump just got destroyed. He only lost it by 2.8 points in 2020. So I think that's a very, very similar 2.8 points here in 2024. I think that's a very similar. Donald Trump can close the gap, and that's why I think it's possible he could win, but I wouldn't predict that as of now. So that's the lean states. I don't think I have any lean states for the Republicans, so everything else is going to be within a point. That's how tilt margins work. So let's start with the Democrats. I think Arizona is definitely tilt Democrat as of now. It seems like a big task for the Republicans to win Arizona. Maricopa County, which is where Phoenix is and everything, not looking good for the Republicans. Donald Trump, I think he won Maricopa County in 2016, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. My memory is kind of faded. Joe Biden came back and won Maricopa County, and that kind of put him over the edge. He won Arizona by 0.3 in 2020, so it's not ridiculous to me to think that Donald Trump could take back 0.3, especially with Biden's unpopularity. But when you look at the 2022 midterms, and obviously, counter to that is that Trump wasn't on the ballot, and I think if he was on the ballot with Carrie Lake in a 2022 midterm, I think Carrie Lake takes the state. She only lost by 17,000 votes, but you see the margin of victory for Katie Hobbs did increase a little bit, and in Maricopa County, she took it by 2, where Donald Trump lost it by just over 2. So, when you see this, it does make you kind of hesitant. And Mark Kelly, he was the incumbent, and the state historically likes incumbents. He won Maricopa County by 6. He wins Conoco County by 22. So if you look at the 2020 presidential race, you see all these going to the left. 4 more points than Democrats, 17 more points than Democrats. I think that Biden takes it. I think it's very close, though. I think that it's very, very close, and I would not be surprised if Donald Trump could win this state. So I don't think it's lost like a lot of people are saying for the Republicans. Georgia, I'm going to put Georgia in Joe Biden's column as well. I think that Georgia, the suburbs are continuing to go further to the left. You see here in 2020, this was a shocking development. I think that a lot of people, I think I had Georgia going to Trump by 4, but when you saw this huge of a swing within the suburbs and the Senate race from last year in Georgia with Herschel Walker, You look at the 2020 comparisons even further to the left in the suburbs in these counties in Atlanta, which these are counties that Trump is going to have to do well in Fulton County and DeKalb County. Things he did not do well, counties he did not do well in. Georgia, you know, just didn't have the same. Brian Kemp did win Georgia, but he's a kind of a likable governor. You'd think that Stacey Abrams would be able to do well, but as you see, the suburbs are just going left, and I think in just a presidential race, I don't see the Republicans being able to take back Georgia. I don't think it's crazy for them to take back Georgia, but I don't see it happening as of now. So I think Georgia's in the tilt Democrat column as well. North Carolina, I think, will go to the Republicans. They're doing very well there in North Carolina. I think it'll be a close margin. Trump won it in 2020 by a tilt margin. He won it by just over a point. And just to remind you, I think I just said that a tilt margin was 0-1, but it's actually 0-3. So anything less than 3 is a tilt margin. So Trump won that by just over a point, and I think it's very similar. I think it could go to Trump by actually 2 points in 2024, so I'm going to put that in the tilt Republican column. So we have 3 states left, right? Joe Biden's at 268, Donald Trump's at 235. Let's go to Nevada. I think Nevada's going to flip this cycle. I think Nevada's going to go to the Republicans. Trump actually competed in Nevada very well last time. You saw Esmeralda County going to the Republicans. You saw Lincoln County going to the Republicans. But then I want to point you to even further going to the right. Joe Lombardo winning the state of Nevada, which was a ginormous win for the Republicans. He was endorsed by Donald Trump. It was one of the tighter Republican governor races in the country. But to unsit an incumbent Democrat governor in the state of Nevada is very, very good for the Republicans. Obviously, Clark County is the big dog. That's where Las Vegas is. He only lost it by 6. Donald Trump lost it by almost 9. So Joe Lombardo outperformed Donald Trump in Clark County, which is huge. With Trump on the ballot, I think that Trump could win the state of Nevada, especially given the unpopularity of Joe Biden. So I'm going to predict that now. I think it is a bold prediction, but I do think that Nevada is going to flip this election cycle. Like I said, it was very close, 3 points. This was a state that was going to Joe Biden in the polls by like 12 and 13. Trump almost won it in 2020, and I think that he could very well win it in 2024. Let's go to Wisconsin. I think this goes back to the Republicans. I was actually shocked in 2020 that Trump lost this state. I was very, very shocked. I think that, the governor campaign run by Tim Michels in the state of Wisconsin in 2022 was laughable. The Republicans never really got out, lost it by 4. In 2020, Donald Trump lost the state by just under a point. You saw the trends from 2016 in Azoka County, which was the WOW counties that I remember I talked about in all of my videos. I said the WOW County, the WOW County, the WOW County. I remember saying it over and over and over again, the WOW counties, WOW counties. You look at the Senate race in Wisconsin, went back to the Republicans, no shocker. The WOW counties, when you look at 2020, all going to the right. So you like your chances in Wisconsin. And like I said, the governor race run by Tim Michels was just laughable. No chance that I thought he had to win. Tony Evers especially being the incumbent. So I like the Republican chances in Nevada. So it all comes back down to Pennsylvania once again, right? And feels like it always comes down to the state. 19 electoral votes. Joe Biden's on the cusp of presidency, and Donald Trump has to have this state to win the presidency. I was surprised that Joe Biden won the state of Pennsylvania in 2020. You saw the trends going towards the Democrats in 2020. And then in 2022, I was absolutely shocked that John Fetterman won the state. But, you saw that. You thought that Oz had that kind of scandal, and the Libertarian candidate actually took 1% of the vote, which you could argue that was a lot of Oz's vote. Pennsylvania, Seems to be very difficult for the Republicans to win this cycle. Joe Shapiro winning by 15 in the governor race. Just feels like it's trending more and more to the left, and I think that stays the same way for the Democrats in the 2024 cycle. I think it could go to Biden by a very, very tilt margin. I think it's very, very close, but I do think that Pennsylvania stays in the Democratic column. I do think the Democrats are tired of voting for, rather the blue collar workers are tired of voting for the Democrats in Pennsylvania because they haven't really done them anything. And I do feel like that Trump can go to Pennsylvania with the simple message of what has Biden done for you? What was it like 4 years ago? And I think that you look at the polling data right now in the actual national aggregate. This is a very close election. Trump is actually leading in the national aggregate in some of these polls, +6 in the popular vote, which is unheard of. Biden's popularity is just so low right now. You have ties in YouTube Gov, and these are Democratic polls in Emerson, Biden +1, RCP. So Biden is only polling 0.4 above Trump right now, and just in comparison to 2020. Biden was 7, 10, 10, 11, 10, 8, 8, which if you look at the national aggregate, I think that was actually pretty close. So Trump lost by 5 in the national aggregate, 81 million votes to 74 million. So this got it pretty close. And I think that this could make headway in states like Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona. So I'm predicting Joe Biden to win the election as of now, but I do think that this is a very close election, and with Biden's unpopularity, very well could change in the coming months. We have a long time. Until this election, but I can't put the Republicans winning Pennsylvania as of yet. So this is the election prediction so far: 287 for Joe Biden, 251 for Donald Trump. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will be putting out more videos in the coming months ahead of the 2024 election. We'll have live streams, hopefully have some debates. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Legacy Politics out.